Hey guys, welcome to the Rat Grind channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode 51. Wow, 51 episodes already. I'm so excited to get on today's video. Today is Monday. We're back in the grind, back to work. So I love Mondays because it's an opportunity for us to continue working, continue on our struggle, continue on learning, continuing on improving, and as well as seeing what happens in the overall crypto market now that everybody's sort of out of the weekend and back to work, right? So today's episode 41, episode 51. It's June 11th, and we'll talk about some crypto market updates, some Bitcoin and Ethereum analysis, and look at everything that's transpired over the last day. So just some little bit of reminders, right? So if this is your first time coming to this channel, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell, as well as please smash those likes, smash those thumbs up. Please give them to me. Support the channel, support the effort, as well as I look forward to hearing from you guys. I look forward to seeing your comments, your feedback, about the topic, about the channel, about things that I can improve, about how I can continue to provide you guys more value, right? So let's get right into it, guys. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to look at the crypto markets and how it's holding on to more bleeding, right? It's stopped the bleeding. There's still some little bit of wounds out there in the overall crypto space. We're going to look at that overall market, and we're going to look at Bitcoin and Ethereum's sideways trajectory right now. That's what's happening in the market. We don't know if it's going to go up or if it's going to go down. We're going to look at some charts. We're going to look at some analysis just to see what the probabilities are of which direction it will be taking in the next couple of days, over the next couple of weeks, right? And I also want to show you guys a chart on because we've been going through this correction sideways market for almost a quarter now out of 2018, and it hasn't been really a great year. So I want to kind of talk to you guys about the psychology of market cycles, and we'll get right on some news. So some of the biggest news, I know there's a lot of news that is being reported out there. Majority of it you could probably find all on your own, but the three main news that I want to be able to talk to you guys about is South Korea is legitimizing cryptos with regulation. So that's really good. Another one is crypto giant Binance will be adding fiat pairs very soon, within the next couple months. And the biggest news just a couple of hours before I got in here recording this video was Coinbase will be adding a new coin in a very short period of time, in months, right? So we're going to look at all of that. So let's get right into the market, guys. So as you can see, guys, as you can behind me, overall the market has been trying to stop the bleeding, although some of the major cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Monero, all of them still are in the red, although not as big of a red yesterday. It's sort of tapered off, but overall you still see a lot of greens and a lot of red. So it looks like Christmas, right? It looks like Christmas morning, where we have some greens from the Christmas trees, some sprinkles and stuff like that. So that's what we see. Let's look at the coin market cap right now. So as of today, we're back in the 300 billion market, guys. So that's really good psychologically for us, right? We dipped down under 300 billion yesterday when I recorded the video. I believe we were at 285, 295, something like that, which we haven't really seen since, I would say, around March, right? But we're back in the 300 billion range, and the 24-hour volume as of today is $15.377 billion, right? And the Bitcoin's dominance is still up, 39.1. But if you can see, majority of the charts have sort of went sideways. It stopped the drop, and it's starting to pick up just a little bit. It's been able to pick up a few points. Bitcoin's been able to pick up about 1.18% over the last 24 hours since we recorded this video yesterday. Ethereum 0.11%. It still dropped 0.11% more, but at least it hasn't gone down even further. When we look at the charts, we're going to see what happens. One thing that you will notice, guys, as of today, Binance coin. Let's look at Binance coin. Binance coin is up 9.88. Let's look at Huobi. Um, let's look at Huobi right here. So Huobi token 3.15. Buy box token 10.41. What you can see here, guys, normally speaking, when the markets tank, this is a strategy that I've been seeing, that I've been playing out. When the markets crash, usually exchanges have their own tokens, tend to do well, right? Tend to do better. So it's sort of like how when the economy drops, gold sort of trajects up. It's kind of one of those things, because a lot of people, like I trade with mostly Ethereum pairs, right? And some Bitcoin pairs. But I also have some Binance coin pairs, because of the fact that they do give you a discount when you're holding Binance coins. So usually in the markets drop, people tend to, you know, sell back into their exchange coins, or buy into their exchange coins, because of the fact that they want to kind of keep their money a little bit more protected, right? If they don't do Tether, they'll do other things. And Binance has been adding more and more pairs to its BNB coin. XRP Ripple was one of the newest ones that they've added into the exchange, so that's why it tends to do very well. So just looking at the overall market here, you'll see that pretty much, it's still, 50-50, some green, some red. So, we want it to all be green again. So we might see that in the next couple of days. We'll have to see what happens and what transpires, right? So if we let's look at the chart, guys. So as we can see, Bitcoin is sort of holding. It hasn't hit this side, basically will be a triple bottom if it hit here, but it's still already on a on a very downward spiral here. It did get some recovery as of today. Let's zoom in here just a little bit. So today's green candle, as you can see, today's candle ended in the green. Although not that much, right? And right now it's red again. But as you can see, the wicks of yesterday and today all have this little bit of a wick here. That means that the bulls were able to buy up some of those dips so that it did not drop further. But we're still not out of the woods, because if we look at the lower time frames, let's look at the 4-hour chart. I saw on Facebook, or maybe on Twitter, that they're calling this a an upside down Maggie Simpson. If you'll see it, because it goes down and then has a little bit of a hair. But as you can see, it's going sideways, although it's forming another channel. This is what it had previously, right? Before it had that drop, it was forming a bear channel, which we don't want, because when it forms a bear channel, or a bear flag, it tends to drop again, right? It's a continuation pattern that we just don't want to see. So we want to be able to see how, if this can be able to recover up. It's sort of being rejected by the 8-day exponential moving average. We needed to jump back into maybe above the 55-day. If it does that, then that gives us a really, really good sign of support, because all of those previous resistance will act as support. So let's look at the MACD. So the MACD again is pointing up, right? It's about to do a bullish crossover there, but sometimes it touches and it goes back down, right? So it does happen that even though it's trajecting up, there's still enough bullish momentum that can totally derail us and continue a downward spiral, all the way down to 6K or even 5,500, right? That's something that we don't want to see, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, right? I personally didn't really expect that we would be down here again. I always say that we're never out of the woods, because in the longer, like mid-range 1-day time frame, we're sort of still seeing some of those bearish momentum. But when we look at the 1 week, 1 month chart, we're still very bullish, but it's just these lower time frames that we just can't seem to pick up. I think there's a lot of sentiment in the market. When people get some gains, people tend to pull out pull out of the market because they're afraid that, okay, well, it's oversold now. I can't have it. I can't leave my money there because it's probably going to drop. And that's exactly what happens. So it's basically like a self-perpetuating prophecy that happens when people expect it to go down. It does go down because they start pulling out their money. So that's something that, it does happen, but we can't hodl forever, right? A lot of the people that got into this market, they FOMO'd to get into the market, and they FOCO'd, basically fear of cashing out. And it does happen, but unfortunately, it's something that we really need to learn from, and we need to really play this smartly. There's a lot of goodness in keeping and holding the coins, but at the same time, we have to be smart about our money as well. And it's not always that holding will be the solution for everything. I think if we believe in this space, it bodes well for the entire industry, but as at the same time, we can't really lose money because it's something that we work hard for. Most of us, came into this space with other, I have businesses of my own. I work, I grind at a lot of different things, and I'm using cryptocurrencies as a means to invest and grow my money. But it's not, my primary source of income. If it is yours, then, by all means, I understand. But at the same time, if this was your primary source of income right now, unless you're trading on a day-to-day basis, or you're shorting the market and making the gains that way. I know a lot of people that do short the market made a lot of money in the last couple of days. I mean, especially yesterday when it dropped significantly. So people do have that, but me personally, this is just one of the avenues that I do invest in, and I try to grow my earnings so that I can be able to get out of the rat grind, right? So let's look at Ethereum, guys. So Ethereum is sort of similar, not as bad as Bitcoin right now. So we're looking at, again, at the 1 day or 4-hour chart right now. Let's go to the 1 day. So looking at the MACD for Ethereum, as you can see, it crossed up and then it crossed back down here. It crossed on a bullish convergence right here, but it went down again on a bearish convergence. So let's look at the chart overall. As you can see, it's still going up. It stopped the bleeding, but we hit this. With this, we hit the psychological support line here that we hit last time. I believe that was May 28th was when we last hit that, and we went back up, and then that's the next level of support that we were able to touch again, and it was bought up even more. So it's still going sideways. It is forming a channel right now. We'll have to see major gains on this to be able to even get back into at least close enough to the 8-day exponential moving average. But right now we're quite, I would say about $50 away from that. So that's something that, we need to be able to see if we can be able to break through that and bounce up on that particular line, and it climbs up, laddering up in that, in those different channels, in those different levels of resistances, for us to be able to find the next level of support, guys. So I'm not too worried about Bitcoin, but Ethereum, like I said, it's I personally don't think that we've seen the lowest it can go. If there's a swan event, a black swan event where there's some catastrophic news, that could go even lower than the previous low that we had this year, which was about at the $350 mark. It could hit lower than that, or at that line, if there is a some bad bit of news, right? But so far we haven't been able to see any of that bad news happen. So I'm still bearish on the overall sentiment of the market. There hasn't been really anything bad. I know there was that CoinRail hack, but that's just, I don't know. To me, that's just, it doesn't really explain, because PundiX was one of the ones that were hacked there, and CoinRail is such a small exchange that I don't really see them affecting the market that much, right? I think the CFTC investigation and probing into Coinbase and a few other major exchanges would be a much more sounder reason catalyst to a potential drop that we experienced, but still, it doesn't really explain everything, because overall the market keeps delivering on good news, great news overall. So we don't really know what's going on, but potentially it's market manipulation that continues to plague the market. So that's why we need potentially regulations to help us clean up this particular space, right? So let's look at the RSI, guys. So if we look at the RSI, it's bounced. It hit the oversold levels yesterday, but it sort of bounced right before that. And what we want to be able to see, a bullish divergence here, right? So if we can be able to see, if it goes up, it bounces back down and hits that, and it's continuing going up, that's sort of what we want to be able to see to signal that we were going to go up, right? As we saw here, I was looking at this when this happened, right? When you see this bearish divergence like this happen, this is usually a sign that the market could potentially could be going down, right? If we see at this time frame that the candles are bullish, if it's going up, but you see the RSI level taper off and sort of form a lower low, then that could potentially mean that the market is about to reverse and head down. And that's exactly what happened after that particular day. Let's look at it actually, so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So as soon as that day happened, right, overall it was going up into the green, and then bounced back a little bit down, and then bounce back up. And as soon as it hit that time frame when it wasn't able to form that higher high, that's when it dumped here, right? And again, we were looking at that here forming a higher high, but then as you can see, it dumped after that fact. So that's something that we don't want to continue to see. What we do want to be able to see is even the RSI forming higher high, and we want the MACD to confirm with us that it's on a bullish convergence, right? When it converges there and it keeps going up, that's what we want to be able to see. We want to be able to see that MACD, the selling pressure, the volume taper off, so that we can be able to potentially see some market recoveries. But again, what I always say is I like the markets when it's actually, it does have these corrections and then goes back up. As long as the corrections are smaller than the gains, that's still good, because eventually it's all trajecting up. It may take us longer than what we want, but parabolic runs like what happened in December are not healthy for the market. And usually those things correct heavily, right? And we've been oversold for almost half a year now, if not a year. If not a full half of a year, not just a quarter, right? So we want to be able to see this. I'm still looking forward to on the 13th, which is basically Wednesday, when there's some more talks about the CFTs. It's the SEC regulations that could potentially go. We need some more clarity whether they're gonna go heavy-handed and regulate the space. That's fine, because the sooner we find that information, the sooner we see that information, we get those regulatory clarities, either from the SEC, CFTC, whatever the case may be. It will allow us to move on further, right? It's just like dragging a bad relationship, right? The longer you wait for you guys to break up, the longer the wounds fester and they get worse and worse and worse. And as we can see, let's look at this chart, right? When we look at this psychology of a market cycle, this is basically used in Wall Street, right? We hit this time, right? We looked at optimism. This was on the parabolic run in December, right? There was optimism, belief, thrill, like euphoria, like, oh my God, 20,000. And then it drops, like, oh, that's just a minor correction. And then it went back up, and everybody was saying that, oh my God, that was a crazy correction, but we're on our way to 50K, and people bought in more. And then we dropped, right? This was around the February time. Anxiety set in, right? And then it dropped even more. This was, the first 6K that we dipped down to, and people were in denial. It's everything is going to come back, right? It goes up like everything is in great condition right now. we've dodged a bullet and we're gonna go back up. And that didn't happen. It dropped even more. And we start to panic, like, holy crap. Like stop losses are being hit. And it never ends. And then we go back up, and then it bounces back down. This is the second time we hit that 6,000 level just a couple months ago. And then we were going back up again, and then we hit this depression time. And as you can see, you see it in the market, guys. You see the sentiments. I see a lot of YouTubers not recording videos anymore because there's really nothing much that's happening in the market. You see the news, they're just pretty much positive news. But I think a lot of the people are just in a depression stage because they've gone through a lot. I mean, think about this, guys. Doesn't this look exactly like the markets? Let's zoom out here to the 1 day. Just to give you guys an idea of what's going on here. Look at that. Doesn't that look like maybe Ethereum is not exactly as, that chart is, but if we look at Bitcoin, doesn't it almost exactly like this was the euphoria phase, and this was the what was that? It was the complacency, and then there was a panic, and now we're in the depression stage, right? That's what I believe that, that's where we're in right now. And then if you can see this right here, this depression right here matches how it's going to connect back into this euphoria. So every time there's parabolic runs like this, it happens, guys. It happened, and it's happened historically for Bitcoin. If we go out here, as you can see, not as big as this one, but it's happened in the past. See right here, it happened here, and there was almost like a eternal winter after the 2000 Mt. Gox 2013 2014 time frame, right? So that's what we're hoping for. That's this market cycle. That's the psychology of all of us, and we're going through that. So the most important thing right now, in my opinion, like I told you guys in yesterday's video, is this is a time to educate yourself. This is a time to really look at the project that you're investing in, to see which projects can potentially, continue the momentum. May not parabolically rise. Everybody's sort of waiting for, like, we were going to go for the biggest bull run ever. It may not happen ever. We may just, like the .com bubble, it popped, and it took us a few years for the NASDAQ to get back up to pass where it was, but its continued bullish state has, pretty much continued over the last almost a decade, right? And that's maybe what could happen to our space, but we really need to educate. I'm working on some videos. I'm working on some content right now. I'm going to be publishing for you guys that is going back to the drawing board, right? Really studying the market. I've been reading a lot. I've been studying a lot of papers, studying a lot of articles, scouring Reddit, Medium, some talks that I'm finding that I'm going to review for you guys, and I'm going to share with you guys, summarize them so you guys can get a little bit more educated in the space. It's not just about where is the next moon going to happen. When is Lambo gonna come? Let's get away from that. Let's really look at the space. And as we want the space to mature, we as investors and traders and people in the crypto space also need to mature, right? So that's pretty much as far as the market, guys. Let's look at the chart. Let's look at the news that's happening today, right? So the first bit of news that I want to be able to share with you guys is Korean will regulate cryptocurrencies exchanges like commercial banks. This basically, like coin currency news say that this is going to legitimize the space. I want to show you guys a little bit, read an excerpt of this, right? At the moment, they say that cryptocurrency exchanges in South Korea basically can operate it as a communication vendor, and they only pay $40 as a license fee. That's really cheap, guys. And as such, even the Free Trade Commission The country's regulatory authority for economic competition does not have the authority to monitor or oversee crypto exchanges. However, to prevent the utilization of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum in underground economies, this is what everybody's trying to prevent, guys, and suspicious activities, the KFIU came to a consensus to recognize cryptocurrency exchanges as proper financial institutions and regulate them accordingly, right? So because there's, basically, the crypto space is relatively new. I mean, although Bitcoin has been around for, 8-9 years now, it's very new. I mean, the ICO, like Ethereum, didn't come out until 2015. So if you really think about it, guys, we're relatively new. We're like at its infancy. This is like 1990s, right? Early 1990s in the internet space, where internet was invented by Tim Berners-Lee back in the 70s, 80s. The institutions were using it, education universities were using it. It wasn't until really like 1992 when some of the mainstream were able to start using it. And we're at that point right now where, there's a lot of talk from big investors, institutional investors coming into the space, but there's not enough regulation or rules of law in place to govern this space, and everybody's trying to scramble. But as you can see, if it's not a positive sign, I don't know what is. A lot of the US regulators, Congress and all that stuff, have really, regardless of what they feel about cryptocurrencies, they haven't completely outright banned them. Like in China, they completely outright banned cryptocurrencies, ICOs, because they weren't sure what was going to happen, and they needed to have a semblance of control in their economy, in their flow of money, that they just, halted all the exchanges from being able to trade. But that's not happening here. So they were posing the question, is this negative or positive news, right? The acknowledgement of cryptocurrency, the last paragraph, the acknowledgement of the cryptocurrency industry as a properly regulated financial market will be beneficial for global cryptocurrency markets in the long term, and will improve the mainstream adoption of cryptocurrency significantly. Who does not want that, guys? I mean, I talk to people on the street and they say, I'm not going to touch cryptocurrencies of Bitcoin, with a 10-foot pole, because everything that they read is like, oh, it crashed. Bitcoin died like 300 times already, and it keeps dying, and it will continue to do so until proper regulations are in place to prevent these manipulators from taking advantage of us, right? So the next bit of news that I want to be able to show you guys and share with you guys is quite big. Coinbase will add, this was on TechCrunch, will add Ethereum Classic to its exchange in the coming months. And right at this time, when I read this news, Ethereum Classic on Binance went up like 35%. It went crazy. And, I missed that because I wasn't invested in Ethereum Classic at the time. And I saw this news when I got home, because my wife picked me up from work today, and I took my kids. We went to go get some stuff from the store. And as soon as I read the news, I got home. It's like, oh my God, let me look at the price. And I saw it within 1 hour. It went from 0 to 35%, just like that. And so this is really great. I mean, I think this is a natural, logical next step for them. They already have Ethereum, right? They already trade Ethereum, and they already have basically identical technologies in place. Although, of course, Ethereum Classic forked, and they may have deviated some things, but essentially the whole technology base and core is essentially the same. So I think it's just a next logical step for them to be able to take this in and allow us to be able to have easy access to Ethereum Classic. We're going to see if Robinhood and these other fiat gateways do allow us to also get into Ethereum Classic, which would definitely bode well for you guys that are holding Ethereum Classic right now. So the last bit of news that I want to be able to share with you guys is this. Crypto giant Binance is going to offer Euro trading pairs this year. Once they do that, I mean, they moved to Malta, they've set up a bank account. We reported that, I think 3 or 4 videos ago. We expected this to happen, but I think it's materializing faster than I expected, because I'm always sort of unsure about these things, because of course there's a lot of banks that don't want to convert their fiat into, don't want to allow exchanges to convert fiat into cryptocurrencies, right? Just today I got this mail. I just want to share with you guys. I printed it. I took out my name and my email just for, privacy purposes, but I got this. This was sent this afternoon to me, right? It says cryptocurrency purchases by credit card no longer permitted. This was from my bank, Wells Fargo. What is happening? You may have used your Wells Fargo credit card to purchase cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. In the past, we wanted to let you know about an important change. Beginning June 18th, Wells Fargo credit cards can no longer be used to purchase cryptocurrencies, right? And the reason that they're saying is because of the market volatility and the credit risk associated with cryptocurrencies beginning on June 18th. Credit cards known exchanges will be declined, right? This applies to Wells Fargo personal and business credit card accounts, although the debit cards can still be used for these transactions. And I was seeing on in our space people asking, well, why are they allowing debit cards? Well, you have to understand, here in America, right? If you go ahead and rack up, I don't know, if you had like $100,000 credit limits, right? You use that to buy into Bitcoin and you file for bankruptcy. You basically got that Bitcoin and Ethereum for free. That's why they're not allowing you to do it, right? Because it also protects their business, because you're basically getting cryptocurrencies almost for free, although it's going to ruin your credit. But you've already got away with money, right? They say, oh, you lost it all. And so that protects you from them being able to collect from you. So that is one thing that they're also protecting themselves. And you may or may not be aware of that. And we always think that, oh, they just want to stop. But that is one of the reasons why, they're preventing you guys from buying credit cards, right? I mean, using credit cards. And going back to this particular news, they are very sensitive about trading fiat and cryptocurrencies. That's why it's really great news that Binance is going to be able to do this. And if they're able to do this successfully with Euro, USD will be just around the corner, guys, because they have to compete. Coinbase has already said that they're already preparing to add ERC20 support into their exchange. They've already gotten the proper technologies in place for them to be able to do that. Circle bought Poloniex, which is backed by Goldman Sachs, who could potentially also offer fiat gateways into cryptocurrencies. If that happens, Binance, the largest cryptocurrency exchange, cannot be left behind. They need to be able to maintain themselves as being the top crypto exchange, right? So that's all the news that I have for you guys today. I know that we're going to be looking at the market. We'll see where it goes. I'm going to keep an eye on everything that's happening. There's a lot of news that's been going back and forth in the market. I don't want to saturate you guys with too much. I know I've already taken about 30 minutes of your time, and I know that's quite long, so I want to be able to be respectful of your time. I sincerely hope that you don't mind me doing these videos and giving you as much value as I possibly can. If there is anything, like I reminded you guys in the beginning of the video, if there is something that you would like me to cover, talk about, if there's a show, I want to talk about actually Netflix in the next video. Maybe I watched their little documentary on Explained episode 5, I believe, about cryptocurrencies, which is ridiculous. So the amount of false claims that they put in there, but we'll talk about that. That's for another time. But I just wanted to tell you guys, please let me know if there's a paper, if there's an article that you saw, that you read. Please do share them with me on the comments below so that I can be able to read them up. I mean, I don't have access to all papers. I try to read a lot. I wish I could just download them all to you, but I can't. But yeah, I want to continue to consume as much information so that I continue to improve myself, so that in these times of dips, I'm a lot stronger to get through these times of bearish sentiment and overall sideways flow in our overall crypto market space. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. I really appreciate your time. I know there's a lot of content, there's a lot of videos that you can support, and I appreciate you watching today's video and supporting my channel. Please do subscribe, hit the notification bell, give me your comments below, and until I see you guys on the next video, I wish you and your family a success-filled day. Good night, guys. I love you. Good night. Bye.